talking about the one act you can do to radically transform your goals, to radically achieve more with your desired outcomes, to get the breakthrough you want in, to have the highest ROI on any purchase in personal development you can make. What is that thing? And if it's not obvious, let me tell you, today we're going to be covering travel, and why travel isn't just about vacations. It's the cheat code to your next breakthrough. Every time I have ever taken a trip, it has created a massive breakthrough. I've come with a cascade of new ideas. I come with more energy for the things that I'm already working on. I bring new energy to my routines that were kind of getting musty and old. As soon as I come back from a trip, I remember, man, these are really, really good trips. These are really good travel. This is really good transformation. These are really good routines. So when you go away and come back, you get back to your routines, you realize how good those routines actually are for you. So we're going to be covering that, how the act of travel rewires your brain and breaks stagnation and unleashes creativity for you. We're going to be covering what wanderlust reveals inside of you and how you find your edges. And then my own simple framework, very simple framework, even short trips, for how to make sure a trip isn't just a vacation and an escape, but edifying for your personal development. We're going to be covering this and more in episode 347 of The Grant Sparks Show. Let's talk about it. Before we get started, I want to hear in the comments below, tell me what trip that you've taken has changed your life. I don't care if it was local. I don't care if it was international. I don't care if it was across your country or across your state. Tell me what trip. In the comments, in the DMs, I want to hear what trip radically changed your life and set the course for you. And if you know me for 5 seconds, you know the one that changed my life was semester at sea. It has set the course that I have to be moving. I have to travel. The dopamine hit I got from those early days in my mid-20s, traveling with semester at sea, changing my paradigms, changing my life, developing empathy, but helping me dream bigger about what I could do back home. Every time I come back from a trip, I'm telling you, every time I come back from a trip, I have a list a mile long on how to make my home life better. I just got back from Colombia, and I've already got 2 pineapples planted or rooting. I have 2 pineapples are ready to root. Why? Because when I was in Colombia, I was inspired and saw how everyone was growing something in their house, their business, or their yard. There was greenery inside and greenery outside. And that inspired me. So I came home with this list of this is a simple thing I could do to make my home better. Because when you travel, you realize I haven't even done home well. So it's not just about going and escaping. It's about becoming better. So I want to hear from you in the comments. What trip changed your life? What trip shaped you? What trip radicalized you for being kind, being humane, caring more, diving deeper? I cannot tell you enough of all the personal development hacks. We could talk about meditation. We could talk about journaling. And those things are absolutely good. And if you are stuck somewhere, you have to learn how to meditate. You have to learn how to journal. You have to learn how to sit with your coffee and reflect on yourself. I'm telling you, Wildleaf Wanderer Marissa, she has done so well creating a world where she can sit on her porch and drink coffee and reflect. And it's so much so that it seems extreme to other people. That's just because other people don't do it at all. But nothing, and I mean nothing, no fitness routine at the gym, no cold exposure. And I believe in those things heavily. I do those things heavily. I go to the gym every day. Let's go. I believe in cold exposure. I believe in it all. But nothing can dip you in and change the wiring in your brain and give you hope for the future. Like getting on a plane or getting in a taxi or getting on a train and going somewhere that you are unfamiliar with, where you don't know anyone, putting your phone down and just observing. Nothing does it for you. What has done that for you? What trip have you taken? I want to hear in the comments what trip you have taken. And before I cover my quick framework on how to make a trip more than a trip, but a personal development experience. And I don't care. I don't care if it's a short weekend trip to the Bahamas, which I did this year. How did I make that a radically powerful personal development hinge point, a leverage point, a slingshot? Not just because I let my hair down and run around and I'm dancing. I didn't do any of that. I leveraged it in a way that threw me forward into this next phase, next era of my life. We're going to be covering that. But before we do that, morning cup of gratitude. What are you grateful for this morning? Post in the comments. If you're watching, I see you watching. You're watching on Facebook. You're watching on Twitch. You're watching on YouTube. You're watching on Twitter. Wherever you're at, drop a comment, you morning freaks, and tell me what you're grateful for. And I'm going to start. The one thing I'm grateful for is the moment you book the ticket. Book the ticket before you are ready. Book the ticket before you have the entire thing planned. Book the ticket. That sends a signal to your brain that you are willing to take big action. You will never, and I mean never, rarely ever. let me caveat that. You will rarely ever regret buying a ticket to another country, to another state. I'm telling you, that ticket could be a plane ticket, a train ticket. I don't care, a bus ticket. I don't care what it is. I am grateful for the moment. I'm grateful this morning for the moment you booked the ticket and I booked the ticket and everything that version of you dared to believe in. That's what I'm grateful for. Every moment that I've had the jitters, I've been resistant, I've been hemming and hawing about a trip. Once I book that ticket, something shifts in me. I'm grateful for that today. What are you grateful for today? Put it in the comments. If you cannot express what you are grateful for, you are missing out. You are emotionally constipated. And hey, I just heard a powerful quote that I posted on Instagram. We do not travel to move. We travel to be moved. There's nothing wrong with your home life. It just tends to get boring. There's nothing wrong with where you're at. It might be limiting you a bit. You might need to make a change, but it is not the worst thing in the world. We don't travel to move. We travel to be moved. The tough thing about home life, the tough thing about feeling stuck where you're at, you might need to move to another city. It might be tactical for you. But the one thing it's probably hindering you from is feeling moved. Most every human, we say we're happiness oriented, and I don't know if that's true. I think we're existentially motivated, meaning we need to feel that something is bigger than us. We need to feel moved, whether by art or whether by a show or whether by a conversation or whether by a beautiful vista in another country or whether by a beautiful habit that other people in another country perform. I was totally moved a Sunday ago, not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before. I was in Medellin and I was having coffee in the morning and I was moved. Almost to tears. I was having coffee and suddenly I started seeing a few runners down a street that during the rest of the week, this was a honking, horn-driven, taxi-driven street, and there was no one on it. There was no cars on it this Sunday, and I was drinking coffee. I was wondering what was going on, and I suddenly saw one old lady jogging, and then I saw another family of 3 jogging, and then it came like a cavalcade. It came like a flood. Thousands of people in this city every Sunday block off this major street and they all go for a run as a community. I looked up the Medellin Run Club, had 73,000 members. And that morning alone, I stopped counting. It was to the tune of thousands, if not tens of thousands on this major street in Colombia, blocked off. Were just jogging. It was gorgeous. It was covered in beautiful tropical trees. The temperature was 82 degrees. The humidity was very low. People laughing, people hugging. They haven't seen each other all week. And they were just going up and down this trail of a street, jogging as a community. I was moved. We do not travel to move. We travel to be moved. If you are feeling stuck, so many of you are. If you are feeling frustrated, so many of you are. Share this show right now with someone who you know is feeling stuck or someone you've been telling, hey, I feel stuck. This is how I feel. This guy's telling it right now. You need to travel. It will create the breakthrough that you can read 50 books and not get. You can journal for 30 days straight and maybe get that breakthrough. You will meditate for a month and it will change your life. But it might not move you at the depth that traveling and being a visitor in a world does, like it did to me that Sunday 1 week ago. I want to give you this. I want to drop this on you real quick. That's what I'm grateful for. What are you grateful for? Post in the comments. Please, if you're watching, I need to know how to hype you. And if you are watching and I invite you to, and you don't, you are saying that you are emotionally constipated and just too busy to actually express gratitude. Drop it in the comments. Let me hype you. Check this out. This is from the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology in 2014. Check this out. Experiential purchases like travel, and especially travel, create longer lasting happiness than any material purchase. I started following a guy on TikTok, and this guy starts his TikToks with, I'm going to go to Egypt for the day because I have free will. I love this guy. I love this guy. I want to hang out with this guy. He'll say, I'm going to go to the beach in Costa Rica today just because I feel like it. And he'll pose a question. Can you do Colombia in a day? Can you do Costa Rica for the day because you have free will? This person has a full-time job. They live in New York City, and they decided, forget it. I'm sick and tired of postponing this. I'm going, even if it's just for the day. The quote is, experiential purchases like travel create longer lasting happiness than material ones. And this was viscerally real for me, and it's going to become real for me. And I could show you my calendar. I woke up in January and said, do you know, if I go out on the weekend, even in tiny little Lakeland, Florida, and I go to my only restaurant worth going to, which is 1961, and then they have a rooftop bar called Bar Vasco. Love them both. I love Lakeland. I love my tiny places in Lakeland. But if I'm going to go out and spend any money and see people and participate in community, I'm going to go to 1961 in Bar Vasco. And if I go, I don't spend less than $150. And I don't normally do that. I'm not like a bougie guy. I don't spend a lot of money like that typically. So I only do this once or twice a month. If you're in New York City, you know that's low. If you're in LA or Atlanta or Jacksonville or Miami or Orlando, you know that that's not a lot of money. You probably spend way more than that. Then on Saturday morning, I get up and I do breakfast at my favorite bakery, Born and Bred Bakery. And that's, if I really get some things for the day too, I could spend $50. So now I'm up to $200. If I shop, if I go out on Sunday, now I'm up to $250, which again is high for me. I don't spend a ton of money typically. But I could easily look back and say between food and meals and travel, I've spent close to $300. Do you know I can buy a ticket to Puerto Rico or Costa Rica for less than that? Experiential purchases like travel create longer lasting happiness than material ones. Here's my challenge to you, and this is my challenge to me. Every single month, I have a trip, mostly international, on my calendar. And this year, every single year, this is what got me to the Bahamas. This is what got me to Colombia. This is what got me to Asheville. And I've got 2 more trips to Asheville, North Carolina. One to visit Marissa, another to visit my friend Eli. My family's up there now. I got to visit them. We've got trips to Chile on the calendar in December. I haven't bought my tickets. Marissa has. We've got our trip in November brewing right now for Colombia in early November. And I'm looking, where else can I go and win? Because I know that these purchases massively impact happiness far longer. When I'm scrolling through my photos as I was this morning and I was getting moved, they were all the travel photos. They weren't just a food. Some of it had food, but not a lot. It wasn't the shoes I bought. It wasn't the backpack I just had to purchase. It was the experiences and the hugging and the laughter and the throwing snowballs in Iceland. And those memories, when we were living them, they were mixed. We were having a tough time, or we were frustrated with our friends, or our shoes were soggy and wet because we had just walked through a river and it was uncomfortable. But when you look back at the photos and you replay it in your mind begins to filter and realize the benefits far outweighed the discomforts. So here's the thing. Anticipation of the trip, plus the novelty of the trip, plus intentional personal growth, which is where my framework comes from, equals a richer mind, a richer life, and greater life satisfaction overall. I'm going to drop that in the comments because I think you need to read that. I think you're watching this right now and thinking, man, what the hell did he just say? Here's my formula. Boom. Anticipation of the trip and the unknown, the novelty and the uniqueness of that trip, plus an intentional mind. If you go thinking, I'm just going to be in this all-inclusive resort, locked in, I'm going to have a margarita here just like I could at Chili's. I could have a margarita with an umbrella at Chili's. I'm just going to go. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about traveling with a personal development mind. Go out into the community, get into that taxi and not speak their language, and then have to navigate that. That equals a richer life, a richer mind, greater life satisfaction. Here's my quick thought here. You don't just need a new routine for your personal development. You need a new perspective, and your goals know it. I know it. I know going into December, I needed in 2025 to change so much in my life, or I was going to end up stuck. And I ain't through the weeds yet on this. I haven't completed my cycle, but I know that the things I was facing were so big in me, but the tools and the routines that I've been exercising were limiting me. Now, they anchor me too. They keep me safe, and your routines aren't bad. Your routines are good. I get up at the gym 4 a.m. I'm never going to change this. I might take vacations or trips or travel and modify it, but I will always come back to it because it's a good routine. I'll always do cold plunges. I'll always meditate. I'll always journal. These things are so powerful and good, but when that you're just doing the routine to do the routine, it will begin to hinder you, right? It's better than drinking. It's better than partying late, depending on what country you're in. People get stuck in loops, even good loops. I do. People get stuck in loops, even good loops. I know I do. So it's the same space. It's the same thoughts. It's the same thought patterns. It's the same mental ruts. And your goals demand new thought patterns. This is why reading books is so good, scrolling bad, because scrolling is okay, but it doesn't rewire you. It doesn't give you new thoughts. It's what's known in psychology as shallow thinking. It's not theta brainwaves. Reading puts you into theta brainwaves. You have new thoughts. You create new synaptic patterns. But when you're scrolling, you break synaptic patterns, but you don't create new ones. So you need to read books, but you need to travel. Travel will do it instantaneously to you. In fact, we call it traveler's overwhelm or traveler's exhaustion. You fill up your itinerary on a trip somewhere, and like by noon, you're exhausted. Why? Because the stimuli is so much. Your brain is learning so much. I recommend people plan less on a trip, just one thing a day. Why? Because it's overwhelming, and you're going to get the stimulus just by sitting and having coffee. Your brain is putting new things together, but people get stuck in loops. This is a huge problem. You don't need a new routine. You don't just need a new routine. You need a new perspective, and your goals do this for you. And then people wonder why their goals feel flat, uninspired, disconnected from joy. You need them, but you stick with them so hard that you forget to get novelty. I do big time. So here's what's worse. We think grinding harder will fix the burnout. Burnout does not come from repetition. Hear me on this. Burnout does not come from repetition. Burnout does not come from routine. Burnout comes specifically from lack of novelty. Mental exhaustion, if you're just doing, it's called the law of hypnotic rhythm. If you are just doing the same thing over and over, which we do because that's what gets results, whether it's for our business, for our fitness, for our health, it gets results. But burnout is doing it with no light at the end of the tunnel, no reward, no shift, no novelty. So when what we really need is to simply leave for a moment and explore and feel something new in order to return renewed. So not only are we stuck in routines, we think grinding harder will fix burnout, and it won't. I literally get caught in this loop because I get obsessive and focused. This is a major flaw of mine. But traveling, especially if you've bought the tickets, even if you're flustered going into the weekend, I got so much to do. This is me. This is my mental loop. Man, I shouldn't have booked this trip. I got so much to do. I can't. That's my routine. That's my security mechanism trying to bark at me and get me to pull back. But once I get on that plane or once I get on that train, something lifts off of me. And then I review my goals going, did I forget anything? Did I leave the iron on? Did I forget that one client? And it goes away. Check this out. Science actually says this. This is from this article. Travel reduces cortisol, the stress hormone. Now, if you've traveled, you know that travel itself can be stressful. But it's odd that cortisol reduces in your system just the same. That's crazy. It can be stressful figuring out where the hotel is. Oh, we had to cancel. I came down with altitude sickness, major league in Colombia. We were in Colombia and we're scouting this trip. We're going to guide all of you on. You're invited in November to come with us to Colombia. And we were going to look at this glamping site, which was at a higher elevation north of Bogota. But we started getting in the car and I started getting sick. And I never get motion sick. I never get sick. I was nauseous. I couldn't breathe. And after a long fiasco, we found out and we had to involve a doctor, and we turned around. We missed out on this trip. That can be stressful. And you think, well, so your cortisol's high? No, I'm still traveling. It reduces my cortisol, which is bizarre. Traveling triggers dopamine, pleasure, and motivation centers of the brain. So even though you're experiencing the stressors of travel, I didn't bring my razor or my toothbrush. For some reason, it still doesn't trigger the same stress hormones that you get when you get back home, not to the same degree. It boosts your cognitive function. This is where you get traveler's exhaustion from, traveler's overwhelm. When you're traveling, you're solving problems all the time. And again, you feel like maybe this is a little stressful. It's also boosting your cognitive flexibility. Someone's saying something, and you might pick up a word. Oh, okay, they just said shoes, or they just said taxi, or they just said food. So you get creative in problem solving and you start reworking things in a way that you don't normally do at home. Maybe if you're working on a farm and you're always having a problem solve with a farm or a garden, something to that effect, but not when it comes to travel. It's wild. And then it heightens your mindfulness. You have a heightened attentiveness to everything. You're watching people's mannerisms. You're watching body language. You're listening because you don't often understand the language. You're listening for empathy to get their vibe check. You are attentive and focused in a way that you don't do when you're back home and you tune everybody out. Literally, the auditory changes that happen in your brain when you travel are second to none. And in fact, you don't escape yourself when you travel at all. In fact, you meet more of yourself than you ever knew existed that has fallen asleep. So how are we going to solve this? What I don't want you to do is I don't want you to book your next trip and it be an all-inclusive trip. I don't want you to book a cruise. I want you to book a trip that will challenge you. So let's unlock the next level of your goals, of your personal development with what I call the trip framework. Trip. There's a guy at the gym, and for some reason, whenever he lifts heavy, he goes, trip. Eric, shout out to Eric. This is my model that I've put together so that you make every journey, even short journeys, a conscientious tool for growth. Check this out. Number one, T for trip stands for trigger novelty. All-inclusive resorts quite often are very beautiful. They're very photo-worthy. They're very, such a relief, so relaxing. But honestly, it's just luxury that you could have gotten back in the U.S., planted in another context where no one can find you. There's a value to that I don't want to knock. But I don't believe it does the same personal development at all that traveling in a novel way does. It helps you see. I want you to seek new experiences that challenge your senses. Man, Marissa tells me the story of her hiking the Inca Trail, and my heart just like, oh my God, this challenged her. I went to Peru. What was challenging? I had to navigate. I was alone. I hadn't traveled alone in a long time. And it just felt good to walk the streets and how to solve things. It was novel to solve these things again. The dopamine and brain plasticity skyrocket because you're being surprised around every corner. And I gave myself a mission, and that mission was to find this one tattoo parlor for one of my tattoos I got over here. And once I got into Cusco, I had to look this up. And so I challenged myself, can I do this without Google Maps? Just because it was supposedly just a few blocks down. So I got directions from the person in the front desk. I tried to translate as much as possible. They pointed at one of the printed maps, and I said, let's go. Trigger novelty. So here's a real action you can take right now to trigger your novelty that creates personal development growth around the topic of travel. Choose one local or global destination you've never considered before. A new one, completely new, and book it. Even just a new town 30 minutes away. I don't want you to go to the same hotel. I don't want you to go, oh, remember that one time we had such a good time? No, it's a new place, whether local or global, and book it today. That's the action you can take right now to trigger novelty and a little anticipation inside of you. R in TRIP, trip. R, reflect with intention. Use travel as a reflective tool, not just a reward. Travel is not a reward. And I've made this mistake most of my life. I made things difficult for Marissa and myself and for the people around me because I kept putting it into this reward center. Well, I justified that because we had to earn so much money. And that was my justification. Not anymore. Travel's not a reward, it's a tool. So journaling, voice notes, meditative walks to lock in clarity. When you are in a new destination, even if it's in a nice hotel, even if it's in an all-inclusive resort, go for a walk, even just around the block. I know that in the Dominican Republic, when we lived in the Dominican Republic, Marissa would go off and get her scuba master's instructor's license. And I would give myself little things. It was super intimidating. I would walk down to the lavanderia, which is basically the laundromat. And then I'd walk further to the grocery store. And then I'd walk further to the frutas guy and just get over this fear and overwhelm of interacting socially in another country. Reflect with intention. I would journal. I wrote books while I was there. I always recommend, and we incorporate this in our trip in the fall. Any of the trips we put on, the morning is going to be mostly free, generally speaking, to give everyone the opportunity to be reflective. A, how did yesterday go? B, how do you want today go? A, what did you learn yesterday? B, what do you want to learn today? We're going to be putting this in all of our trips. Our trips aren't just vacation. They're personal development tools to grow, whether you're doing the influencer trip, whether you're doing the crypto trip we're going to be putting on, whether you're going to be doing the AI trip where we're just going to get out of our context but learn how to build an AI. Why not learn a skill in another country that challenges you to grow? With white glove service. This is what we're doing. But every morning you're going to have a space of time to reflect. So R in TRIP, trip, basically trigger novelty, do something new that you've never done before, and R, reflect with intentionality. If you do not, this was the greatest thing when we were doing Haiti. We did Haiti for a good handful of years, and every morning we'd wake up, and whether it was a Bible study or journaling or prayer, that set a course for me, even in a secular sense, that I wake up and touch base with myself, with my spirit. I pray, I meditate, I journal, I reflect on what happened yesterday, and I say what I want to happen today. That's journaling, man. Do it. I in TRIP. I stands for immerse yourself, don't escape. This is why I'm personally do not prefer all-inclusive resorts. They're an escape, and that's beautiful, and a lot of people need that. I get it. Personally, it's not the highest and best use of my dollars for travel. When I travel, I want to immerse myself. Don't scroll. Sit and have coffee and observe. Go out to dinner with a local family or couple or person and listen. If they're dancing, dance. If they're jogging down the street, put on your sneakers and jog. If they're all going up to that one site with their family, follow. Immerse yourself. Immerse yourself. If they're making coffee in the morning like they did in Haiti and just sit around the coffee pot making coffee, I would sit. Immerse yourself. Don't scroll your trip away. Be in it. Engage in the culture. When they learn the pleasantries, learn when they say hello and goodbye. And even if you don't know the language, at least say hello, goodbye, thank you. Participate in that culture. Embrace the awkwardness. Yes, you've been comfortable. You know when to go to the gym, where to go. You know how to drive. You know how to sit. You know your P's and Q's in America. But when you travel, you're going to be awkward. Welcome it and learn how to apologize. Disculpe-me or con permiso or however you say it in any country. Forgive me, but I'm trying. Learn how to make apologies and move. Listen, culture shock equals character shock. And character shock equals growth. Hear that again. Culture shock equals character shock. And character shock equals growth. Here's the action you can take today. When you travel, make this part of your list. When you travel, each day, ask a local one question and try to ask it in their language or write it down and try to ask and just ask the question about life, about their values, about joy, and let it broaden your worldview. When I'm visiting in another country and I ask someone their goals, it's eye-opening. It's eye-opening every time someone tells you what their goals are. So when you travel, don't just stick with the tour guide. Don't avoid communication with locals. Go out into the local market. Buy a mango. Buy a coffee and then ask, hey, I'm just curious, what are your goals? And it's going to be awkward, but do it. You will learn. So immerse, TRIP, trigger novelty, reflect with intention, immerse yourself. Do not escape. And lastly, pull it home. TRIP, pull it home. The goal isn't just to travel, it's to be transformed. Bob Proctor would always say, be transformed by the renewal of your mind. Be transformed by the renewal of your mind. The goal isn't to travel. Some people, yes, they want to just breathe. They need to get some sun. They need to swim in a pool. Good on you. But if you want a massively transformational trip, don't just travel. Do not be a tourist. Be a traveler. The difference between a tourist and a traveler is a tourist tries to preserve who they are and let that go on vacation. A traveler travels to discover more of who they are. Let what you discover on the road impact you for how you show up when you come back home. Is it kinder? Is it more kind? Is it more loving? Is it more understanding? Is it more empathetic? Or are you more xenophobic? Do you come back and complain about the coffee or the traffic? You were a tourist. But if you come back and communicate how you grew, you were a traveler. If you come back and think, that was cool, I'd love to take someone back there, you're a traveler. It just depends on what you focus on. So here's a real action. When you put it on your list, make this part of your travel routine. When you return, list 3 changes you're making based on what you felt, saw, and became. List 3 changes you're making. One of them, I try to make sure that there's always light, fun, energetic music playing in the background. This is one change I'm making. So coming back from Colombia in this trip, this is my latest trip, was Colombia. And I was in Bogota and Medellin. And what I realized is everywhere there's music. Everywhere there's music. It doesn't matter if it's coming out of their cell phone or a speaker or a street band. So I have determined that as I get around for the morning, I don't just play my hypnotic routine. I'm going to play some lighthearted music, and it's going to be different than my work music. My work music is made to make me focus. But my lighthearted music is made to fill the air with something a little more joyful. So that's number 1. Number 2, I'm going to start growing more plants like I've been promising forever, and I've got them. I've got 2 pineapples that are rooting right now. I'm bringing back some of my pothos. One of them had died, so I'm watering all of my plants. I'm about to get 2. I have 2 big pots. I'm about to get some soil and put 2 big pots right out here out front. I'm going to start doing these things because I want to make that change. I want to live. I want to breathe. I want it when people visit me to know that I have a life. Because when I travel, I love it when I can observe someone's life. And I realize I need to be doing that more. Those are my 3. What are yours? When you travel, what are 3 changes you're going to make when you get back based on what you felt or what you saw or what you became? This is how everyone spends money on travel and they lose these opportunities. And yep, they got postcards. Yes, they have Instagram stories. It's cute. They felt relieved because they did escape their life for a while. That's great. They had good food. That's cute. Were you changed? Did you become something better? Do the people around you go, hey, you're different. Something's different. That's what travel should do. So hear me on this. TRIP. Trigger novelty. Reflect with intention. Immerse. Don't escape. Pull it home. Bring your trip home. Emerson, yes, Ralph Waldo Emerson, said travel is to leave your home and return again and see it for the first time. That's travel. Are you a tourist or do you travel? Listen, travel is not escape. It's exposure. It shows you your edges. It dares you to expand. And I present for your consideration. You could spend $6,000 going to Alex Hormozy and Layla Hormozy's retreat in Las Vegas. You can get them to talk about your business. I talked to someone who did this. They spent $6,000 on the visit alone, not including hotels, not including flights. And guess what? They came back and said, it was okay. I could have just read the book. You know how much you could travel with that much money and be changed? And to this person, same person's credit, she up and moved to Playa del Carmen, Mexico. She traveled. She letting it change herself. Your next breakthrough in your goals, in your personal development, in your maturity will not come from another spreadsheet or hustle hack. It won't even come if you build another $1,000 in monthly recurring revenue. Those things will be awesome. Hustle hacks are awesome. Spreadsheets are awesome. But the ROI on a trip, far better than a course you could ever take, far better than a mentoring session you could take for a couple $100. Buy an airline ticket to somewhere that makes you uncomfortable and go get changed. Go sit in a hostel and talk to travelers and hear what they've seen and learn. You will hear trends. You will hear ideas. You'll hear what they're working on. You'll hear creativity, and you will come back energized, and you will see the same problems you left in a brand new light. It might come from booking. Your change might come from booking that trip, from walking in some unfamiliar street, from seeing some new cultural thing you never thought about before. But you'll finally begin to see yourself with new eyes at your next level. Why am I talking about any of this? Because it's time for change. For me, for you. It's time to challenge yourself. Here's the thing. We're going to be doing more and more of these trips. Like, follow, subscribe. DM me if you've been thinking about a trip. We've got them coming. I'll be announcing more. But I've been doing personal development coaching now for almost 20 years. It's 2025. I've been doing this since 2005, give or take. Let's be fair, 15 years. And as much coaching as I've done and as many books as I've handed people, no one has been changed as much as getting on a plane, even if it's just a vacation. We're going to be doing trips with intentionality, transforming travel. We are going to be doing transforming travel, where you're going to go with us, and it won't be grandiose. It could be. We might have some luxury trips in the works already, but most of them will be standard trips. We're going to put one for content creators and entrepreneurs, another for crypto people, another for natural nature people, another health and wellness one. And these are not going to be crazy expensive, but they will, I guarantee, be transformational. So reach out if you have any questions about this. If we can help you in any way, let us know. But in the comments, I want to hear what trip changed you and why did it change you and what you need from a trip in order to change you yet again. We're covering this because the world needs more of what you are and what you have yet to become. No matter what you do today, remember the mission: igniting lives of explosive significance, starting with your own. Have a great day.